we're here in Guy Sebastian's newly built studio in Sydney. Hi, Guy.
Hello, mate.
Thanks for taking the time to chat with us today. Most people would know you as a singer-songwriter. However, they probably don't realise that you're a musician and producer as well. What instruments do you play?
I started on drums over there, and yeah, sort of progressed, I guess, into piano. I always sung, so growing up I sort of yeah, sung, but then there was sort of a need for a drummer. I was at school and started drumming, and then
So singing came first?
Singing was always kind of something I did, yeah, from a young age. I mean, I used to sit by the stereo and sing for 6-8 hours, just copying like people's tricks and runs. Like I'd hear Marvin Gaye, I'd hear Boyz II Men or Otis Redding or Brian McKnight or whatever, and I'd try and do all of the tricks, and I'd just be there going, oh yeah, just trying over and over again to just get it. And so vocals definitely were always first, but then yeah, I was sort of in a school band playing drums. I played a bit at church. Was never really that good, just sort of, I was kind of a fill-in drummer. But then took up piano because I started singing teaching. So I finished school when I was young, like I think I was still 16 on my last year 12 exam, and just turned 17 at the end of that year. And so I was 17 and like kind of in uni and broke as, you know, living in Adelaide. So I started singing teaching, but realised you have to know the piano. And, you know, because you're doing scales and stuff, la 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 with the students. So I quickly sort of gave myself some quick lessons, and yeah, I mean, those days it wasn't like there was YouTube and stuff where there's online tutorials and all that sort of stuff. So it was a bit harder teaching myself.
So out of a book?
Yeah, I was learning out of books, and you know, yeah, bought a bunch of sort of, you know, boot camp, like how to learn piano quickly type books from Alan's Music, and yeah, and then just kind of fudged my way through lessons, and I'd never had a music lesson, like I've never had a singing lesson or anything. So it was really, I actually really enjoyed teaching because I wasn't coming at it from a learnt point of view. It was more an experience point of view. Yeah, and I did this thing where I recorded this like a run CD, because a lot of my students wanted to know how to do, you know, tricks and runs, and they'd come to me for that reason. And so I did this CD where it was like, you know, step 1, and it was like, oh, step 2, oh, step 3, oh, step 4, oh, step 5, you know, oh. So to just keep building, and then I had students going, oh, you know, which it was quite complex. But once you can get your voice moving like that and starting to kind of transition through scales, it sort of sets you up to be able to improvise and sing in any sort of setting. So I really enjoyed it, but then guitar came a bit later, just because I started gigging a lot, and you know, guitar was a lot more portable. I was writing and heading to writing studios, and not, you know, not everyone plays instruments. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so.
Yeah, cool. So you produce your own music as well?
Yeah, well, to a certain extent. Like I'll produce some things completely on my own, but most of the time when I write a song, like say I'm in this studio and I'm writing on my own, or if I'm co-writing, a lot of the times I'll co-write with a producer, which is really great. So that means I can just concentrate on the top line. So I can think of chords and think of melodies and lyrics, and someone else is over there just getting a shape of the song.
Yeah.
A majority of the time I'm writing the song and then putting a demo down, and then I'll give that demo to, like for example, M Phases, who has produced the last few things for me. He's incredible. Let Me Drink, which is a current single, and then Choir, it was pretty much all nutted out, all the vocals and everything recorded. Even Let Me Drink, the vocals were recorded, but then M Phases is a billion times better producer than me, so he'll just come in and put his stamp on it, and I love his sensibility, as far as like he'll hear a song and he'll go, mate, you don't need that pre-chorus, it's just wasted space, just get to the chorus. And sometimes you're so attached to a demo and you're like, oh, I really miss that bit and I love that word, but then you remove yourself and go, actually, if I listen to this fresh as well, I'd probably have the same opinion. So I do love palming off my art to people who will just do a better job of it.
It's very hard to be objective about your own music when you're hearing it over and over and you hear it a certain way. It's nice to have that extra input.
Oh yeah, and I think people get a little bit not arrogant about it, but I think they want to sort of have their fingers in every stage, and it's sort of sometimes it's to your own detriment. Like if you just give it to someone they wear that hat better, just they'll make your song sound better.
Yeah. And when you're starting a song, do you have the song in your head? Do you nut it out on a piano or guitar?
It's always different. Generally, I just hear melodies. That's how most of my songs start. Like if I went through my phone, which is somewhere, like if I went through, my dictaphone app on my phone, there's 1,000 ideas. Thanks, bro. Like there's just thousands and thousands of little melodies, and it's really embarrassing actually. I don't even know what any of this is going to be, but it's like.
Feeling nothing. I don't know what it's gonna feel like.
I mean, so then I'd think to myself, what are the chords? I can hear the chords. So that's like something over the third bass. Certain, if it's a G, it'd be a G over B or something. Yeah, so I can hear the chords in my head, but it's always melody first for me, and then I'll get to the studio and put the chords down, and then I'll start to, in my opinion, it's a bit of something I'm trying not to do, because I start to nerd out about sounds and I'll start drum programming. I'm just having fun, like because I'm putting off having to actually sit down and think about what's this about, what's the theme, what are the lyrics. So I'm trying to like stop the procrastination thing, which is sometimes just a fear of failure. You're like, I'm afraid to like get stuck into the song in case it turns out crap, and so I'm trying to do that as I mature more as a songwriter, and just write the song, forget like getting on Splice or whatever and making a track.
Cool. Do you ever work with samples, or do you like working with samples?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like you see pianos and stuff in my studio, like I've got drums and I've got an upright. I've got in the foyer, which I used yesterday, I recorded a massive choir, so there was a whole lot of big islanders here yesterday, these big voices, and so I've got a lot of organic space in the house, which is awesome, where I can record the grand piano. So there's all tie lines. When I built the place, there's all tie lines through the foundation coming up to the studio. So strings, everything I can record in that kind of void space, and it's a 3-story high void space, so it's nice for that sort of epic feel. I'm not putting verb on anything that I record in that space.
Sounds great.
And then I've got my little live room here, it's sort of it's really geared towards organic stuff, but then I love mixing in samples, and I mean well, this is kind of what this could sound like anything, but this is the choir yesterday. Hang on, here we go. So that's for an ARIA's performance that's coming up.
Right.
And
so is it going to be a live performance?
Yeah. So well, that's for the live. I close the ARIAs this year, so I've got to host, and then I've got to close the show as well. And we've got 30-piece choir on stage, and I'm kind of in the middle of them, and there's a corridor of choir around me, and so it has to sound pretty epic. So they'll all be singing live, and this will be on track. So it'll be a live choir plus this, so it'll just sound pretty epic. And actually, that's the probably 50% of what I use this studio for as well. Is like I've just been on the road, so I'm my own MD as well in my band. So I'll put all the tracks together, record other elements for live. And you mentioned samples. Like sometimes I'll throw in big impacts and stuff like that, and it's on track, but when the chorus hits and there's like a boom, like it feels epic, and no one in the crowd knows, they're just feeling it. And so yeah, the studio's kind of like, it was an investment for me, but it's sort of already paid off in the amount of time that I spent here and the amount I've used it on the road and in my recordings and stuff.
So you do a lot of pre-production here
Yeah.
in the studio?
Yeah, I'll rehearse in here as well sometimes, because everything's sort of, everyone's got, there's just tie lines and there's like headphone outputs and stuff everywhere, so I can have the drummer over there and piano and guitars set up in there and everyone a bit separated, and yeah, it's cool.
I was going to ask you what inspires you to write a song, because you know that's often the hardest part, getting that initial kind of start. But you pretty much answered that anyway.
Well, and it's always different. Like sometimes, to be honest, I sit down to write a song, so it's not even inspired. It's and a lot of people do that,
it's
obviously.
Like going to work.
Yeah, well, or it's just like, oh, I love it. Like it's fun, so I sit down and I go, oh, who knows what'll come out? And sometimes something will come out. Most of the time, the good songs are inspired by something. Like my last song was my biggest radio hit that I've ever had, Choir.
Yeah.
And that was a tribute to a mate that passed away who was in my band. And so that was obviously inspired from pain and loss and all of that sort of stuff. And you know, but then there's sometimes, like my biggest song ever is Battle Scars. I was driving to a session in LA, so I was on the 101, just like on the freeway, and this melody popped into my head. Now, I don't know how. Sometimes I'll put an idea down in my phone and I'll be like, wait, like how did that just come? Like, because sometimes I'll sing the words as well. Battle Scars, I literally went, these battle scars, fading, they never go away, I wanna fade. Like that was the Battle Scars came out. I wasn't thinking about that. And the melody itself, like it can be a bus that breaks and goes, I don't know. Sometimes I'll hear something like that. The gate will open and then I'll hear like a melody and then it triggers. All writers are like that. They get subconscious weird ideas from weird places and then you just sort of expand on it.
Definitely.
I'm not giving the bus driver any royalties.
Let's talk about your studio. You've got a pretty noticeable black and white theme. Did you design the studio yourself?
Yeah, well, the actual architectural design was done by John Sayer, so he's sort of your guru, go-to guy. Like I knew of him because I'd jump online and look up how to do stuff like treating a room and all that sort of stuff. Like he's got a forum, and so most people that are doing home studios and stuff will either get him to design it or they jump on for advice and all that sort of stuff. And he's just a guru, and he's Aussie, but he travels out to Dubai, everywhere they fly him around because he's just an expert. And so he did the architectural design of it, and then all the inside, I chose all the floors and the walls and the colours and the fabric. I even went and chose the fabric from here in Sydney and Alexandria, and I just wanted to keep it pretty monochrome, like you know, black and white. And I saw heaps of really cool looking studios on Instagram actually, and Pinterest, where it was just all white and it looked like Steve Aoki, I think, has this rad looking studio. And I just sort of wanted to keep it pretty, I guess, pretty minimal.
Yeah, minimal, clean looking.
Yeah, because I think in my last studio, it was something that I kind of built as well. Like I laid all the floors and I put up this regal kind of wallpaper, and I bought old antique furniture, like these beautiful like velvety red lounges, and it had more of a Victorian old feel to it. It was warm and nice. But this house is like, it's like a concrete bunker. It's like concrete black steel. It's really tough. So I wanted the studio to still, and to have a bit more of a modern sort of vibe.
So your previous studio was in your house as well?
No, so that was in Surrey Hills, and now I've got kids, so it's sort of, I just ended up hardly using it. Yeah. Like I'd be on my laptop on my little UAD Apollo, working in bed or like in the office or something like, and I was like, got this whole studio sitting there, but I know it's like 45 minutes there and back, and yeah, I don't know, it's just awesome. Like I'm sitting in here working, I'll duck out once the kids are home, hang out with them, go and play some sport with them in the backyard, do bedtime, bath time, pop back in here and get back to work. It's so good. Then when I'm like so often I'm sitting here and I fall asleep. Like I'm editing and then or comping vocals and I'll be like, oh my God, what am I doing? I need to go to bed. So bed's there, like it's down this corridor. It's really cool.
Very convenient.
We're still recording. Did you check that? I'm waffling on. What a waste if it's just...
So you've got lots of nice toys in here. What's like one thing that you couldn't live without?
Oh, geez, it's a tough one. Well, you need good monitors. So obviously, you guys are from Genelec, and it doesn't get better. Like, you know, I've had these main monitors for a while from LA, and they were sitting in storage while this place was getting built, and I just could not wait to put the main monitors in the wall, and then I had some kind of bigger. In the Surrey Hills space, the control room was massive, so I had some bigger monitors, and these are so good, they're so perfect, and they caused me to not crank the speakers, because I found my old monitors were just too big for the proximity. So when you listen to big monitors like that, like unless you're listening loud, it's hard to really get the punch out of the speakers, whereas these are super punchy and still so clear even at low levels. And
these are the 8341s you're talking about?
Yeah, and they're beautiful, and you know, they've been, not that the room needs a lot of tuning because it's well designed, but still it was great to be able to use the Genelec technology to set up the mic and get it tuned perfectly. And
and you can see what it did. It didn't actually do a lot to the monitors, just a little bit of tweaks here and there.
A few little frequency fixes, and it was good. But I think beyond the monitoring, I've collected vintage gear for a long time. I love my microphones. So I've got a lot of great, you know, I've got like an old original C12, original U47.
The holy grails of microphones?
Yeah. The U47 was all gutted by Gunter, he owns Wagner microphones, and they're as good as you can get. And then I've got tons of old, heaps of other, like I've got a 251, I've got blue microphones, I've got quite a bit of gear. And then this guy, this old Siemens is, I recorded through one of these, so it's called a Siemens Citrel. A lot of the, like the transformers are quite similar to Neve, but there's few differences, and I love it, but I think it's a lot better than the Neves. It's
broadcast, isn't it?
It's broadcast, but I mean the EQs. It's people buy these things just to rip out the EQs, and they're just stunning. I think they're W295s or something. 295s, but the pre's are ridiculous. So I recorded a song called Get Along using these. I was in country England, like in the English countryside, and this guy had these old Siemens Citrel pre's, and I just said to him, mate, what am I singing through? That's ridiculous. And tested a couple of mics. Everything he ran through, it just sounded beautiful, really clean gain, really warm, and really nice. Just beautiful. So this was it's a bit of a nightmare. Like I got this years ago. It's taken me years to get it restored and just get it patched in and wired properly and everything recapped. And like I've spent a fair bit of money on it, but it's beautiful. Everything works, like the little meter works, and even this little, we've recorded through the little talkback mic for an effect. It's really cool. But beautiful I couldn't, now that I've got this, I would say that's probably the holy grail of the studio. And just little things like this massive Gates compressor as well. That you run a bass through that, it's just ridiculous. There's 1,000 tubes on the back of it, and it obviously takes up a lot of rack space. Like I've got a whole unit pretty much just for that. But it's pretty beautiful, and also just to crunch a vocal through that. So if you what do you call it, like parallel compress through this with your vocal, and you crunch this, it gives this really cool kind of crunchy, warm, old school. Like it's like listening to an Otis vocal. Well,
I was going to mention your vocals, because your vocals always sound really up front in the mix, you know, but you always have problems with sibilance when you record microphones, but yours, there's no kind of sibilance in your recordings. Is that something to do with the compression or the mic choice?
I think, well, obviously I'm using good gear. The mic, I mean, I compress fairly lightly too. Like my chain is generally, if I'm in here, it's either the 1073 Neve or this guy. If it's this guy, I'll use that EQ. If it's a 1073, I don't really EQ it. I'll just EQ in post, but I always pretty much run everything through that tube tech.
Yep.
And I only lightly compress. At most, it's hitting -3 dB.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, so I mean, my stuff's mixed so well too. Like I've got great, you know, whether it's Serge or you know, Miles in Chicago who mixes stuff, and I've just used this new guy for my latest single. First time ever I've got a mix back, and I was like, I don't know if I have any comments. It's sort of the first time ever.
Yeah. This is the one you played last time I was here.
It's called Let Me Drink, yeah.
That sounded really punchy.
Yeah. So that's a classic example of if I tried to produce that, because I did all the vocals and stuff in LA, it just would have come out naff, and I probably would have just gone quite old school with it and traditional, and even gone, it's because it's like come on, let me drink, come on, let me drink. It's like almost like a simplified 12-bar blues type thing. But M-Phase has got it, and we never went double time. It's just, and it just makes you just kind of do this. And it's, I guess with vocals, it's just always different, you know. Like sometimes it's not about having a perfect vocal. Like I recorded a song called Set in Stone through an SM7 in basically a tiled, crappy Balinese room. I was on a writing camp and I wrote this song, and I was really down that day, and I wrote this song about things that matter in life and my wife and stuff like that, and it's called Set in Stone. And I recorded that vocal and everyone was just in hotel rooms and stuff. There was like 10 studios set up in this like villa, and it was so echoey and terrible sounding, and obviously just an SM7 directly in through a sound card. I tried to recut that vocal twice, using my C12, using my 47, I could never replicate the emotion and the, you know, I was in Bali, it was boiling, my range was insane, like I could hit notes that, you know, I just couldn't do. And so it's about balancing vibe and what just sounds right.
Yeah.
You know, it's not about the perfect vocal.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think you've pretty much answered every question that I've got written here, so
cool.
I think we'll just wrap it up.
Yeah, I'll get back to editing these million vocals.
Thanks for your time, man.
Oh, no worries.
And
Thank you.
good luck with the new single.
Thank you. Hopefully that's worked.
Yep.
Let's see.